Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I share recipes, meal prep, and dinner inspiration. Today I'll be sharing our meal plan for the week as well as all the planning and prep that went into it. I also have a few new recipes, so let's dive in. This is the template I use to create my meal plan for the week. You can find a link to this free printable in the description box below. With this, you'll also find an accompanying guide that lists each recipe and ingredient. So if you wanted to add some of these items to your meal plan this week, you can use this guide as your grocery list. And each recipe has a scannable QR code that will directly link you to a step-by-step tutorial for each recipe. Those that have been following me know that I try to plan a freezer meal and a crockpot meal each week, as well as a planned night of leftovers, and we also have a pizza night. So after taking inventory of my freezer and pantry, I decided we'll be doing chicken pot pie for my freezer option this week and butter chicken for the crockpot. For our pizza night, we're gonna do Hawaiian barbecue. Once I move those over to the dinner column, I only have 3 more nights to plan for. Again, planning around what I already have in my freezer, I decided on garlic honey chicken, coconut rice and beans with blackened chicken, and my oldest requested pulled pork sandwiches. As I've said in some of my other planning videos, I don't always attach meals to specific days of the week. I just make sure I have all the needed ingredients on hand and just kind of roll with it, planning on at least one big prep day. Now that I have the dinner column done, I'm going to move on to breakfast. Keeping it simple this week, most everything here is pre-made or easily thrown together with pantry staples. I have peanut butter oatmeal, biscuit sandwiches, and we're gonna do banana muffins with yogurt one day. For lunch this week, we're going to do chicken quesadillas. I have some mini pot pies in my freezer and bean burritos. Then I like to make sure I have some snacks planned. Okay, that's it. Once I have my meal plan made, I'm going to take a close look at it and take note of anything that I can do to lighten my load throughout the week. For example, I can see here that I'm making biscuit sandwiches 3 times this week, so the next time I fry bacon, I'm going to fry enough for these. We're doing peanut butter oatmeal 3 times. So on this first morning I make this, I'm going to be sure to pre-measure the other 2 days worth. This blackened chicken is going to be served in these quesadillas for lunch and with my coconut rice and beans. So when I prepare the rice and beans, I'm going to prepare extra chicken for lunch this week. This Boston butt will be used for barbecue chicken sandwiches as well as the Hawaiian barbecue pizza, and the leftovers are going to be thrown in the freezer for tacos in the future. Lastly, I have 2 dishes I'll be serving with white rice, so whenever I make this butter chicken or garlic honey chicken, whichever comes first, I'm going to prepare extra rice because I find rice stores just fine in the fridge. I shared in this video here how I meal prep. Because I have a nice freezer stash of staples, a lot of the items on my meal plan are already made, so as I show you how I meal prep for this week, you'll notice I won't be preparing everything on this guide. So here we are Saturday morning. We got up early and decided to visit the farmer's market. I always head straight to the produce. I was able to find some great cucumbers and jalapenos. We got there too late for the cilantro. We also bought some of our favorite homemade salsas and kimchi, and of course we had to get some cake and coffee before we left. After the market, we decided to come home and just chill at the house for the rest of the day, so I was able to get a jump on my meal prep. We got back at 10 a.m. and the kids said they wanted a real breakfast, so I started frying bacon. Knowing that I've got those biscuit sandwiches on the plan, I went ahead and fried the whole pack. Once I got the kids settled with breakfast, I started on the sauce for my crockpot butter chicken that will be served later this week. This recipe calls for so many spices, some that I don't usually cook with, like the garam marsala. However, this is a meal all 3 of my kids enjoy. I've been making this at least once a month, so the investment in the spices was well worth it. I love using my crockpot, but I have a hard time finding recipes that my family enjoys. They're just not huge fans of the crockpot. We were introduced to butter chicken at this little restaurant we discovered here in Gabs, so I had to find a way to start making it at home, and this recipe is definitely a keeper. Once that's done, I move on to the dreaded tortillas. These homemade tortillas can be such a chore, but they are so worth it. They are so inexpensive to make at home and taste way better than the store-bought. There is no comparison. I knew I would be making these soon, so in preparation, I had already pre-measured and graded the shortening, which saves me some time and mess on this day. Once the dough is made, it needs to rest for 20 minutes. So while that's resting, I'm going to season my pork shoulder and get that into the oven. Right now, I'm just mixing up just about everything in my spice cabinet. Garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, paprika, a little cayenne, parsley, brown sugar, and I used up the rest of my homemade seasoned salt. I'll have to add seasoned salt to my list of things to prep next week. Once I have my roast generously seasoned, I'm going to pop it in the oven. We would call this cut of pork a Boston butt in the States, and it's a pretty inexpensive cut of meat. We will be getting several meals out of this. I always try to pick the largest cut when I'm grocery shopping. We will be doing pulled pork sandwiches tonight with coleslaw, and we'll probably do another day of sandwiches before I freeze the rest for tacos. I will also be using some of it to top our Hawaiian barbecue pizza later this week. Now that that's going, it's time to start rolling out these tortillas. These freeze so well that whenever I make them, I double up on the recipe. The ingredients listed in the guide are for the doubled recipe. I start separating the dough. I like to weigh each piece. 50 grams used to give me the perfect taco-sized tortilla, but over the years my skills have improved, so I now weigh each one at 40 grams. This will be enough tortillas to last at least a month. I like to store them in bags of 8. All right, that's enough for one day. It is now 4 o'clock. The tortillas are cooling. My roast is done. I have my butter chicken sauce complete and some bacon fried for breakfast for the next 2 days. I just have to whip up some coleslaw and pop these frozen dinner rolls in the oven for our sandwiches. This was a pretty productive day, but I still have a few more things on my list. I'll tackle those Monday morning. Here I am Monday morning. We didn't do much Sunday, just went to church and came home to leftover pulled pork sandwiches. Today I will be getting the rest of my meal prep for the week done. I am so glad I was able to get those tortillas done on Saturday. I'll be starting this morning off with naan. We love naan bread. Sometimes the kids eat it with eggs in the morning. We often use it for pizza at lunch. This week I'll be serving it with our Crockpot butter chicken. My favorite naan recipe calls for Greek yogurt, which I was unable to find in the shops this week, so I had to look up a new recipe, and it turned out pretty good. I'll link it down below. While my dough for the naan rises, I'm going to start chopping vegetables for salad. I love having a big jar of this pico-inspired salad. Today I'm using tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, jalapeno. I like to add canned corn. You can even add some beans. I would love to add some fresh cilantro, but I didn't get any this week, so I'm going to add a little bit of the salsa we purchased at the market. I'll also be adding the juice of 2 limes. We'll be eating this with most of our meals this week until it's gone. As I'm chopping all of these vegetables, I'm going to reserve some onions and a pepper for my coconut rice and beans I'll be making for dinner tonight. I'll just put what I need here in this little jar. Now that my naan is ready, I'm going to divide it into 16 pieces. Just like with the tortillas, I'm always doubling recipes that freeze well. That's it, 11 a.m. Naan is cooling. I even baked some almond blueberry oatmeal for my breakfast this week. I'll have to share that recipe with y'all next week, and I have a nice big salad prepped. The rest of our day was spent hanging around the house and schooling the kids. I got caught up on laundry before I made my way back to the kitchen for dinner. I have a new recipe to share with y'all: coconut rice and beans with blackened chicken. Let's start with the blackened chicken. I am making a big batch of this chicken tonight, so I have extra for the these chicken quesadillas for lunch on my meal plan. I have been obsessed with this blackening seasoning. It is so good. I've been making big batches of it to keep on hand. You're going to need equal parts garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, oregano, basil, thyme, cayenne, salt, and pepper. Mix all your seasonings together in a bowl like I am here. Then transfer into a storage container. I keep mine in a glass jar. I'm using chicken breast for this recipe. Generously season both sides of your chicken breast. You're going to need a pan with a tight-fitting lid. Put about a tablespoon of oil and preheat your pan on medium-high heat. I always test my pan with a little bit of water. Place your chicken in the pan. Do not overcrowd your pan. I like to do 4 pieces at a time. Place the lid on your pan and cook undisturbed for 5 minutes. Then flip your chicken, continuing to cook with the lid on for another 5 minutes. If you're doing a big batch like I am here, you may need to add a little bit more oil to your pan between batches. Once your chicken has cooked on both sides, remove it from the pan to rest for about 10 minutes before slicing. Look at this chicken. It is cooked to perfection. So juicy and flavorful. This seasoning isn't too spicy. Even my 5-year-old daughter, who doesn't like spice, loves this chicken. She calls it the chicken that she likes. I'll be serving it with my coconut rice and beans tonight, and like I said, making those quesadillas for lunch this week, but you can use this in all sorts of ways. Now for that coconut rice and beans. You're going to need rice, a small chopped onion, a bay leaf, a jalapeno, butter, thyme, allspice, a can of beans of your choice, a can of coconut milk, and chicken broth. It's going to be 4 cups of liquid total, and salt and pepper to taste. I start by sauteing the onion and garlic in butter until the onion is tender and translucent. Next come the spices. Continue to cook for another minute before adding in the rice. This rice has been rinsed and drained. Now for the liquid. I'm going to use this whole can of coconut milk. It's just under 2 full cups. I'm topping off that 2nd cup of coconut milk with broth. Again, you want to make sure you have 4 cups of liquid between the coconut milk and the broth. If you don't have chicken broth, you can use water. Now I'm adding my beans and giving that a stir. Once this begins to boil, add in that bay leaf and that sliced jalapeno and cover to simmer on low for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, turn off the heat and leave undisturbed for another 10 minutes. Do not remove the lid during this time. It is continuing to cook under there. Here we are 10 minutes after turning off that heat. I love this recipe because most all the ingredients came from my pantry and are shelf stable. It's such a simple and budget-friendly meal. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. That was our meal plan for the week. I wasn't able to show you absolutely everything we made, but it's all in the guide. I just wanted to show you how I do the bulk of my meal prep. And remember, most of my videos are time-stamped, making it easy to come back to a particular recipe. I hope you found this content helpful. Maybe you picked up on some tips or tricks. Maybe it sparked some ideas you can implement in your own home. Maybe you have some ideas for me. Let me know in the comments below. And please, like this video if you thought it was helpful, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and tap on that subscribe button if you haven't already and want to see more. Until next time.